Very much for joining us. As far as e-tolling is concerned as the issue, you're saying government must renegotiate?
Absolutely. And the only renegotiating we really want is that government must scrap that model.
Okay.
You can't want people to pay taxes and in addition to that to pay another indirect tax for the maintenance of the roads. And we don't like the principle of privatizing or commodification of the roads. Or we think that they're taking the user pay principle just too far. We're already paying up to here on electricity, water, telecommunications, and so forth. Now to ask people to pay for the usage of the roads is just taking the matters too far.
Yeah, just in terms of the infrastructure itself as it is now, what is the alternative that can be come up with to repay the 20 billion rand loan that was generated for it?
Already government has announced that it is going to be investing some 300 billion rands on infrastructure, something that we warmly welcome. We think that if there was a political will on the part of the government, it will just take 20 billion out of that 300 billion rands and settle this SANRAL loan and leave our people to go on with their lives. You can't put in inner city e-toll gate system. It's going to kill us. Yesterday we saw a 20% or 20-cent rise in the price of petrol in Gauteng, taking it to 11 rand 20 cent now. And on the 1st of April, there will be 25% increase in the price of electricity. The 6 big metros in the country charge anything between 14 and 110% above that. So this is basically an assault on the standards of living of our people.
Yeah, just in terms of, looking at what's happening in Europe and whether the country can afford a strike like this at a time such as this, where things are so delicate, unemployment is so high, and those kinds of elements. Is it a good time to strike? Can the country afford this?
We wish that there should have been no reason for the strike. But if government had consulted yearly, and if government have listened to the public hearings, it convened and gave an opportunity to people to hear their views around the e-tolling system in Gauteng. People overwhelmingly came to reject that as a model, but still, government just marched on because it was very clear that the public hearings would have been just a media publicity exercise. They had no intention of listening to anybody. Same applies with relation to the labor brokering. Government, through the parliamentary committee, convened hearings all over the country. Overwhelmingly, people said that there can be no space for labor brokering whilst we're pursuing the agenda of decent work. These things can't mix. But still, all those views are ignored, and government is marching on as originally envisaged by themselves.
Yeah, but Fedusa, Dennis George says there's already conversations about labor broking at NEDLAC. There are some kinds of agreements there. Are these agreements not acceptable for you, in your view?
Well, Fedusa is entitled to his opinions. As far as I know, I've never seen a single march led by Fedusa, even during the darkest days of apartheid. This is no different. This is the role that they have played throughout the history. Spoilers, and when workers are moving this direction, they're moving in the opposite direction. And they have been misinforming the public, by the way. And we just want to underline the fact that every worker, be they members of Fedusa or Cosatu or non-members of any of the federations, every worker will be protected in the strike today. The strike is fully protected.
So nobody will be fired, nobody will face disciplinary action?
Participating in the strike unless you are performing and agreed to essential services work. You can't abandon...
Which is what? Health services?
You can't abandon people in hospital and go and join the march. We're asking those people who are performing those such tasks, who, if they leave their places of work, will lead to death or permanent destruction to the economy. Those are exempted and they must go to work, and our members know that these are people that are exempted. But everybody else, we're making an appeal. Please join the marches.
Yeah. Just in terms of labor broking, what are you calling for in this regard?
We see no space, as I was just saying, for labor brokering to live alongside the agenda of creating decent work. labor brokering is the main driver of South Africa's income inequalities. South Africa now is #1 in the world in terms of income inequalities. 30% of people working in the economy already are employed on temporal, casual, and are performing atypical forms of job driven by the labor brokers. Already 44% of the South African workers are earning or living on 10 rands a day. Now, these low wages are the main drivers why the demand of the rest of the goods we're producing in the manufacturing sector is going down, and it is the low wages that are leading to more pressure on the manufacturers and on retail companies to keep on getting cheap goods from sweatshop economies elsewhere in the world. So we're really calling for the scrapping of the labor brokering system altogether.
We had a message yesterday on Twitter. Somebody sent in a message saying they are pregnant now, they are going to be having a baby, but their job is guaranteed, and they celebrate the fact that they're employed through the labor brokering system.
Let me just make one point very clear. You will not come across a single factory created by the labor brokers or any manufacturing of even a habit done by the labor brokers. It is a fallacy that labor brokers are creating jobs. They are exploiting the fact that there is a demand by the employers who are wanting to sideline their responsibilities to the law by creating this pool of workers that could be sold like a commodity at a price that is named by the labor brokers and not by the workers themselves.
Just lastly, participants. Is Helen Zille taking part in the march? Did you invite her to come and participate?
We never invited her in the first place. She just called me to say, hey, I'm coming. Thank you for inviting me. And we say, oh, who invited you? She says, you. I said, when did we invite you? She says, no, Gauteng province. We said, no, it didn't invite you. Sorry, please don't come. We don't want to turn the marches into some political football today between opposition parties and the governing parties. We're asking every member of the society, irrespective of their political affiliation, to come participate in the march, but the march can't be turned into some political football where people are looking at scoring cheap political points at the expense of this and the other parties.
Some are saying that these marches are marching towards Mangaung, perhaps Zwelinzima, Vavi and Cosatu trying to assert themselves in the build-up to the contestation in Mangaung. Is that correct?
No. The issue of the labor brokering, for example, has been on our agenda from time immemorial. We have been pushing it very, very hard. We have been negotiating with the government since December 2010 when it introduced the 4 bills meant to ensure that we address the anomalies that are there in the labor legislation in the country. The issue of the e-toll gates have been apparently there behind our backs since 2002 as a secret of government consultants and discussions with the MEC. Only now, after the 2010, when we have been made to believe that this infrastructure was created by the government as part and parcel of ensuring that we meet our obligations to FIFA and to the World Cup. And now, after the World Cup, we're being told that we must pay. And we think that this is just unfair.
All right. Zweli, thank you very much. Zwelinzima Vavi is Cosatu Secretary General, joining us this morning talking about the proposed strike that's taking place today in 32 different areas, and we'll tell you about these areas this morning. Thank you very much for your time. You're watching Morning Live on SABC2. It's 6:45. Let's